Does your furry friend take over your bed every night? It's time to reclaim your space while giving them the comfort they deserve with the coldest, cozy dog bed. Don't wait. Check out the link in the video description to buy now on Amazon.
Jacinta Allan needs to step aside as Victorian Premier. The rampant threats of violence and links to outlaw motorcycle gangs within the Victorian branch of the CFMEU occurred right under Allan's nose during her time as the Infrastructure Minister prior to becoming Premier. If she won't take the political fall, nobody will. During her time as the Infrastructure Minister, Allan had the closest ties to an oversight of the CFMEU, and the political donations to the Labour Party flowed thick and fast. Hundreds of thousands of dollars helped re-elect the new Premier and her government. Plus the CFMEU operates within her faction, as the major union power brokers. Allan has finally stated that no more donations will be accepted from the CFMEU. But what about promising to pay back the funds already received? That's probably too virtuous by half for this compromised premier. Allan's absolute best-case scenario is that she knew nothing about what was going on under her nose for a decade as the minister most closely associated with the corrupt CFMEU while she was responsible for major building projects across Melbourne. Do Victorians really want someone that incompetent running their state? All of this untidiness is Allan's best-case scenario. The worst-case scenario is so much more concerning. To Anthony Albanese's credit, he kicked the now former head of the Victorian branch of the CFMEU, John Setka, out of the Labour Party back in 2019. Albeit for entirely different reasons. But that is where Albo's actions started and ended. Mere window dressing. In terms of policy, Albo allowed his ministers to recalibrate the rules in favor of the CFMEU, contributing to the mess we are now witnessing. The allegations of corrupt conduct within the militant union on building sites continue to surface. But the means of oversight to address them had been repealed. And of course the political donations continue to flow, to both the ACTU and the Labour Party. For his part, the national head of the CFMEU, Zack Smith, has dismissed the mounting evidence that condemns the state branch of the union he leads as just allegations. He says the departing Setka leaves behind an impressive industrial legacy. The stench of labor in CFMEU affiliations is now so pungent that only a fully independent investigation has any chance of uncovering the truth. Yet Allan has already dismissed talk of a royal commission. Funny that. The CFMEU's national secretary wants to conduct the investigation internally, a ridiculous suggestion if ever there was one. The head of the ACTU, Sally McManus, opposes deregistering the CFMEU, which is hardly surprising given that their sizable donations largely flow through her organization. Money talks in union circles and the CFMEU have lots of it. This is why labor in power always falls over itself to abolish building watchdogs as soon as it forms government. Federally, Kevin Rudd's government abolished the Australian Building and Construction Commission, ABCC, that John Howard set up after winning the 2007 election. Surprise, surprise, problems eschewed. When Victorian Labour returned to power under Dan Andrews' leadership back in 2014, it abolished the state-based watchdog the outgoing Liberal government had set up, the Consultation Code Compliance Commission. It was the new Labour government's first act. Doing so came at the urging of Setka and his union. Federally, the Albanese government again abolished the ABCC when it won the 2022 election, after Malcolm Turnbull had re-established it just a few years earlier. The game of political ping-pong between the major parties when it comes to oversight provisions for the construction sector needs to stop. The first step is not just the removal of compromised union officials, but the removal of compromised politicians who have thrived under a status quo that reeks to high heaven. Allan is one of those political figures who simply must go. Adding to her failures surrounding the CFMEU is her role as the minister responsible for the 2026 Commonwealth Games bid. When it fell over, it left Victorian taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars out of pocket. The incompetence of the whole saga is another blight on her copybook. While it is inconvenient for the Victorian Labour Party to search for a new premier so soon after appointing the current one, it has no choice. If Allan's involvement in the mess on Victo